and I had talked to you before here about Sergio Benevenuto. You know Sergio.
Know him?
He came here and said the following thing, right? We were talking about this difference between Brazilian musicians and American musicians, especially the jazz crowd, right? That mixes at some point. But he is talking about something I call Brazilian mischiefs. And listening to you, you really like to use the major 7 with an augmented fifth, and then you use the major 7 with a sharp 9, minor 7 with the major, some things that we don't hear as much in more traditional jazz themes, you, especially if you're a guitarist, right? Yes. And man, let's go. We know you were saying, oh, everyone thinks that comes from Tonino Horta. But before Tonino Horta, there was Tchaikovsky and other guys who used it. But we definitely started hearing it more here in Brazilian guitar. Exactly. There's no way not to give Tonino huge credit, right?
Of course. Tonino is a wonderful creator who, besides his harmonic thing, also invented a sound that he plays without nails. He must have developed a callus here, so his sound is special. The guy invented a way of playing, a sound, and an impressive way of playing.
And the beautiful compositions. But then, how do you think about these guys for reharmonization and everything else? Talk a little about these more curious chords.
I found it funny. When you said you like to put a major 7th, add an augmented 5th, right? And in the minor, put a major 7th, a relative, it will be the same note. So I always look for that color of the melodic minor when the melody allows. If I'm preparing for a C major, where the melody will land on the major 7th, I can add an augmented 5th. With the augmented 11th together, for example, both notes want to give that color. The melody is on the major 7th, melody on the 9th as well, I add the augmented 5th. Usually, yes, a minor chord. Melody on the 11th, I add the major 7th, the 6th to give that color. Melody on the 9th as well. So, I always look for something like a half diminished. The melody is on the 11th, I add the major 9th to always, whenever possible, delve into this universe of the melodic minor.
That's interesting, folks. Study in melodic minor the harmonic field of the melodic minor, and it's talking here about the harmonic field of the melodic minor. The first degree is minor with a major 7th. The third degree is a major 7th sharp 5, and it was saying if you think about it in C, right, you have the major 7th there, which is B, then you have the E flat, major 7th with the augmented 5th. The augmented 5th is also B. You're talking about the relative issue just so people can follow along here. Then you're talking about the 6th degree, which is the Locrian 9, right?
You mentioned C major, the augmented 5th would be G sharp.
No, I'm talking about C minor, major 7.
C minor. Right.
And then E flat, major 7 sharp 5, the augmented 5th is B. Yes, exactly. And in the Locrian 2, Locrian 9, the 9 is B. Exactly. Locrian 9.
Exactly. Those notes that change, right? The 4th degree is the augmented 11th, the note that changes, right?
Exactly. Which is the micro sharp of the 11.
So I always try to enter this universe. Of course, from the harmonic minor as well, right? When there's that.
That's where the 7 is the major sharp of the 9, right? Which is the 6th degree, exactly. But did you also hear these references being used before? Do you remember those contacts? Because whenever I think of this, I think of Tonino Horta, no doubt. Did you hear this? Someone before, you said the sound was searching.
Yeah, I used to hear it and also all those methods I studied. Then this harmonic field, I thought, man, this here
gives result.
Yeah, because you can use one chord, you can substitute one chord with the other 6, you know? So, man, for example, the 2nd degree, which is minor compared to the 7th, but only up to the tetrad. If you go beyond taking the 9th, the 11th, and the 13th, the 2nd degree generates a sus flat 9 chord with a major 13th, right?
Which João Bosco uses in the song Incompatibility of Genres game, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, because those who don't really understand the melodic minor and its more popular use think that this 2nd degree is used in the minor, but it's not, right?
Yeah, if you listen to it, you'll use a flat 9th, right? It becomes something, right? And that's it. The scale generates this chord on the 2nd degree, right?
It's also a very Brazilian chord. This mode is also very Brazilian. Right, man? This sus4 flat 9 isn't seen much in jazz, right?
You see, Ann Shorten uses it, right? In that Anna Maria.
Anna Maria, there's a lot of sus there.
Sus4 flat 9. But there, I think it's from the major mode with the flat 9th. I'm not sure if it's with the 13th. Or the flat 13th. I don't know if it's with the major 13th.
I don't remember, but there are already several sus4 in that song.
But just like in the 7th degree, which is the altered, which is the minor month up to the tetrad, but if you go beyond the tetrad, you'll have this flat 9th, augmented 9th, which will give the altered, so chord with flat 13th, augmented 9th, flat 9th, augmented 11th. So that's it, it's these 2 degrees. But you can make the tetrad on top of the altered, the tetrad is half diminished. Yes.
In practice, of the 7th degree, no one is going to use the altered scale over a half diminished chord. But it's that whole issue, which I call enharmonic scales. Because in practice, if you put it on paper, you might think you're going to use the 7th degree over the half diminished and the 2nd degree over the minor. But in practice, we don't see this usage, right? Yeah. And what about dominance with a major 7th, man? What do you have to say about these strange ones?
Good on major 7th.
Yeah, because Ginga uses it, right?
Yeah, there are some things like that.
And then, talk a little about that for the folks.
I won't like it. Church. I won't delve into this. Yeah, because when I use it more as a passing chord. If I'm going to use it concurrently, it's a way to create a conflict, right? Yeah, but on purpose. That has an intention, right? In music, art is more that, right? You provoke emotions and discontent, strangeness, it's all part of it.
Because, for example, when we use a major 7th over a minor chord, that's it, right? There's a minor 7th in a chord, but we're putting a major 7th to create that conflict, right? Discomfort, right, man? But in a dominant, it's less. We don't see it as much in jazz, for example. Even in the melody. Although there's a jazz theme, I forgot which one, that has the major 7th in the dominant melody. I forgot which song it is, man. This song written.
Mateus, I'm just going to mention something about Carvaquim that I already told you. I went to play with this thing from Ivan Lynch. Then there was Blue Note and so on. Then there was Hollywood Bowl. You know that place, right? 15,000 people like that. Outdoors, right? That you mentioned, yeah, Playboy Festival. So, man, I went down to do the sound check, right? I went down earlier, stayed in the hotel lobby with Carlos Costa, who was Ivan's producer at the time. We were sitting there, and suddenly Jeff Beck shows up. Damn! Out of breath, scolding his tour manager. Like that. You stopped, I don't know what. Then he checked in. And then he looked to the side, he saw me with that cavaquinho, he asked, what instrument is that? I said, it's a Brazilian instrument, cavaquinho, and so on. Then I opened it up for him. The first thing he did was a bend on the cavaquinho, which was funny as hell. 5, 6, well, no. Oh. I said, man, the guy's going to get tetanus there, right? I was kind of old like that. I said, damn, dude.
Didn't you play for him?
Then I did something there, but a little trick. You know what I do? Then he was like, huh, and stayed like that. Then this Carlos Costa says, man, you impressed Jeff Beck. By the way, Jeff Beck, man, one of my favorite albums was Blow by Blow and Wired. Man, 2 amazing albums for me.
Did you get to tell him that?
Dude, this thing happened. There wasn't even time because he was so rushed. He arrived. He had done a show the day before. He was checking in. I think he was going to play at the Hollywood Bowl. He was there. Saw that thing and just left.
That was it, man.
I said, man, that's crazy.
Because Ricardo, Vogt mentioned here that you were doing a show with Esperanza Spalding and Jeff Beck was sitting with his leg up. I said, not comfortable at all, right? The pressure is high, isn't it? Has anyone in the audience ever bothered you? I said, like, wow, man, this guy is here. Wow.
You know that in the place where I played at Marina, on the mezzanine of Marina, at Gula Bar, did you know I came to Rio de Janeiro to play with... Man, it was just guitars. Me and Alexandre Carvalho. There was no piano, man. So I arrived from Brasilia playing with Alexandre Carvalho, a guy who already had a jazz background, like I had that one I showed you here, right? Which was that thing.
Yes.
Kind of Allen, kind of gold, kind of fusion, I don't know what. Although what I showed you was even a bit earlier. Then I already had, but anyway, I arrived clean. Idris Baudrillard, pure bebop a guy. And the American drummer, I don't know what. Then, man, the one who lived here in Rio de Janeiro, who had an apartment here, was Petro Messino.
Yeah. That was the time when he was married to a Brazilian, right?
Exactly. And then, man, I was playing like this. I just saw his silhouette, like his hair like that. The guy was at the bar. And then he came, watched. And then this thing happened, right? Wow. The guy's there. I couldn't believe it. I was like, man, it's really him with Alexandria looking at me. And then when it ended, we went over, talked to him. But the following week, he came back, watched again. And then there was a Ricardo Silveira show on the beach at that Garota de Ipanema, I don't know, at Arpoador. So I went to watch, and Pet also went to watch. Then we met and talked there. And during that Ivan tour in New York, when we were at the Blue Note, I went for a walk. Because it was a show every day, right? I said, man, I'm going for a walk. When I was about to turn the corner, Pet and I almost bumped into each other. Then he recognized me from Rio. He said he was traveling, that he loved Ivan, that he wasn't going to watch there, that he was traveling, and so on.
But did you bump into him abroad?
Abroad in New York.
I think Pet stayed here for about 2 years. It was kind of quick. It was quick, yeah. It's funny because I mentioned this on a podcast here, and I said, the woman in the end is still married to Pet today for us to have Pet here, right? I joked, right? Man, didn't the woman show up in the video and comment?
Look at that. How cool. Her.
I had a beautiful love story with Pet and so on.
I think her name was Susie, right?
Yeah, I don't know, but she really did comment there. Then he also dated Sonia Braga, right?
Sonia Braga. That happened.
He has a connection with Brazilian music. We hear a lot of Toninho Horta in his sound. Right, man?
Yeah. I think after he met Toninho Horta, his sound changed.
It changed.
Bright Size Life was one thing. Then he met Toninho. And then there was a bit of Brazil there, harmony and whatnot. They are friends, right? Like a lot, right? They met several times. Tony went to Pat's house. They once asked Toninho about this thing, who influenced whom. Toninho's response was brilliant. I'm the older one.
It's because sometimes it's hard to believe, right? Man, we're in Brazil, and Pat in front has 45 solo albums. And it doesn't matter, right, folks? We are influenced. Everyone is influenced by everyone.
Yeah, no, and Pat, he's an incredibly intelligent guy, man. He travels the whole world, and he came here to Rio and went to see us twice. But I know that in the Netherlands he does that too, and anywhere else he does that. So he's a super connected guy. And then he picks up like that, but it's not. He has an identity that is very strong, man. You know?
He's like a sponge, right? He takes what interests him and moves on.
And he does it his way, right?
He picked up Toninho Horta. There's a little fraction of Toninho Horta in him, but there are hundreds and thousands of other fractions.
It's incredible.